What's up guys, Brian Grant here of ContestChampion.com. Today I just want to talk a little bit about the Mystic Dispersion Mastery. Yesterday I posted an Alliance War where I was clearly a bit salty about fighting so many Mystic champions. I mean, I haven't called it a Mystic War instead of an Alliance War, just because I feel like that's what Alliance Wars have become. It's just fighting the same Mystic champions over and over and over again, war after war, week after week. It's boring, guys. It's boring. It's very stale at the moment. I feel like Alliance War needs some kind of change, and I feel like this one little mastery is causing a lot of the staleness of Alliance War. And I'm going to explain what I think needs to be changed about it, because I did say that I think it needs a change in the video, and I'm going to explain kind of the reasonings behind it. First, before I get into the actual mastery itself, I just want to be clear here. It's not about the difficulty. You know, I got a lot of comments saying that you know, I was complaining about the difficulty of it, and that's not it, man. It's something different going on with Mystic Dispersion. I mean, I only died one time yesterday. I cleared the entire path. I died one time, and I had to use 3 potions. Like, big deal, right? I've had to use plenty more than that in the past. I've died plenty more in the past, and I've been way less salty about it, right? You're never happy about dying, but yeah, I've been way less salty about it in the past. It's just I'm really tired of it, guys. I'm tired of fighting the same champions over and over again. It's just not fun. So Mystic Dispersion, for those of you who are not aware of how this mastery works, if you are fighting against a Mystic champion, I mean, it works if you're the Mystic champion too, but let's just say you're fighting against a Mystic champion. If you have a beneficial effect on you, or a buff, and that buff expires, whether, you know, the time runs out on it, or it's like a one-time use thing, or it gets nullified, then the enemy Mystic champion will gain power. And I think this is actually a pretty cool mechanic. I think this really plays into the way that Mystic champions function, the way that they work. They're all about nullifying buffs or taking advantage of some way of enemy buffs. They counter the Cosmic class, which, you know, the Cosmic class is all about gaining these buffs, especially Fury buffs and stuff like that. So I think Mystic Dispersion itself is fine. I think it's great. I think it's an awesome mastery to have, both in power and just like fun, overall fun, right? The part that I don't like about it is that it works just the way that it punishes dexterity. So whenever you dodge back, whenever you evade an attack, whether it's a special attack or the enemy's charging at you and you evade back, and you gain this dexterity buff, this just minor little crit rating buff for one attack. I mean, it's actually a decent crit rating for one attack, but it's only for one attack. After you use that one attack, you're giving the enemy Mystic champion so much power. And even if you don't attack, even if you just dash back again, if you evade 2 attacks in a row, well, the dexterity buff overrides itself and gives the enemy all that power. And 12% power, if they have all 5 levels in it, is a lot. It's a ton. I mean, that's more than 1/3 of a bar that they're gaining each time this happens. You evade back 3 times against an enemy that has 5 out of 5 Mystic Dispersion. That's a whole bar of power right there. Like, I don't know, it's kind of crazy. So again, I like the way that it works. If it's if you know, you're using it as a way to kind of nullify a buff, or, you know, let's say you put you know, Mystic champion, let's say you have Magic on Alliance War defense, which Magic would still be a very strong defender even if Mystic Dispersion no longer interacted with dexterity this way, right? Let's say you have Magic on defense and you bring in Crossbones to war, someone that can try to counter Magic but also has those Fury buffs. Then I think Mystic Dispersion in that case is fine. I think there's nothing that needs to be changed about it. I think that, you know, you have to be smart about taking in champions with the right buff and everything like that, or without buffs against these champions. And I think that's a pretty cool interaction that takes place. That if you have all of these Fury buffs and you know, they're dropping off over time, then the enemy is getting power result. That's fine. I don't need that to change. It's just when it takes away one of the few mechanics in this game, right? There's not that many mechanics in the game that we have, right? There's 2 sides to the screen. There's tapping, swiping, holding. And that's about it, right? As far as like what we can do. Of course, there's other things that make the game a little bit more complicated than that, right? Like managing power meters, you know, trying to land parries, blocking at the right time, doing all these things at the right time that make it this awesome balance of kind of simplicity, but not so simple that it's boring. There's still enough skill and complexity needed, and strategy and all this stuff, that it's like it's a great balance, and that's what makes the combat in this game so fun for such, you know, like a relatively simple game compared to like a traditional fighting game where you have you know, like 10 different buttons that you can be using, right? It keeps it fun, but when you take away one of those few mechanics that we have, like dashing backwards, evading attacks, it just feels like it's cutting off so much of what the gameplay is that, yeah, it kills it in my opinion. And it gets even worse when you look at some of these new champions that are getting added. For example, the Stark Spidey has an ability like this, but I'm going to flip to Vulture as well. So both of these guys have abilities like this, and I'm sure there could be many more that get added in the future. But if we look at Vulture here, and we look at one of his passive abilities, that when he evades, dodging an attack consumes some of his energy, but also puts an Incinerate stack on the opponent, and that Incinerate gives, you know, Vulture some extra ability here, some extra power gain if he's awakened. Like, just seeing abilities like that and just completely shutting them down, shutting down any kind of creative development in that sense. Like, it's just, I think it does so much more damage to the fun of this game than the fun that it's bringing to it. And yeah, I really do feel like it needs a change. People talk about buffing the other class masteries, and I agree. There's some of these class masteries that are just not very good, and they could definitely use they could definitely use some buffs, right? I would love to see some buffs to these class masteries, but I would hate it if any of the buffs to the class masteries, to the other class masteries, just killed an entire mechanic of the game, right? What if each one of these killed a different mechanic? Like, that's, I don't know, it just wouldn't be fun to me. And that's what Mystic Dispersion does. It completely cripples the ability to evade with dexterity just because of the little buff that's given with dexterity here, right? Like, I really don't even, it's not Mystic Dispersion. Mystic Dispersion is fine. It's just the way it interacts with dexterity, that there needs to be some kind of change. Even if it's not a change to the Mystic Dispersion mastery itself, even if it was a change to dexterity, like, just remove that buff even. I don't know, do something, right? Something needs to be changed here. It's just keeping the game boring. There are over 100 champions in the game, and plenty of them are difficult to fight outside of the Mystic class. But because of, you know, just the threat of that power gain by taking away your ability to evade, so many of these other champions just get overshadowed. And it's not even like you're giving up something offensively by picking up what is the best defensive tool in the game, right? It's not like you're making some sacrifice. It's not like you're, you know, a lot of these other masteries, you have to, you know, kind of pick and choose, like, okay, do I really want to sacrifice these points? It's not really going to help me out in other areas of the game. Like, Mystic Dispersion will still help you out in all the other areas of the game. Mystic champions are good everywhere, right? It's not like they're just good on defense. About 5 months back, shortly after the 12.0 release, Kabam had a follow-up post saying that basically they screwed up and that they're working to fix it, and they also mentioned Alliance Wars in that post, and they said that Alliance Wars would be changed by the end of the year, and I've been trying to be patient in waiting for stuff like that, right? Because I do believe what they say. I do believe that change is coming to Alliance War, because it's not just the Mystic Dispersion that needs to be changed, right? It's the map layout that's gotten stale. The nodes have gotten stale at this point, right? It's not the only bad thing, right? Mystic Dispersion is not the only bad thing, and I'm looking forward to those changes too. But I feel like how are they going to change the map? How are they going to shake things up if it's still going to be just the same Mystic champions over and over and over again? So I'm not saying to get rid of the challenge of Alliance War. I'm fine with challenge. I welcome challenge. But I want challenge with diversity and unique fights instead of challenge and the same stale, boring fights over and over and over again. it's just it's gotten old. It's gotten old for me. I don't know what the percentage of champions that I'm coming across as Mystic, but I'm sure that it's more than 50%, and probably greatly more than 50%. Some people will say that Kabam does not want to nerf something like this because it's generating the money, versus other things that were causing the game to go stale because it was, you know, like losing them money, like the perfect block thing, which in my opinion was making the game stale. You know, with certain champions being nerfed, right? That's they were very powerful, and of course that makes the game more difficult, right? And this, you know, nerfing Mystic Dispersion, people think would make easier, and therefore take away from Kabam's bottom line. And I don't think that that's true. I'm really not a good businessman, so I don't know if I'm correct in what I'm thinking here. But what I'm thinking is that the best value that Kabam has is kind of, you know, the long-term game, right? They're not just trying to make a quick buck. They've already made plenty of quick bucks. They have plenty of other ways of making quick bucks. The way that they're going to make the most money long-term is just by making the game fun and interesting long-term, instead of the same stale content over and over. And I think that challenge, again, the challenge can still be there. We can still be using just as many items, but, you know, fighting a variety of champions versus just fighting the same champions over and over. So I feel like we'd still be, you know, forced to use items at time to get through these very powerful defenders, which is fine, right? That's part of how Alliance Wars works. Is you know, managing those resources is part of the war itself too. But it could just be more fun overall. It could be a lot more fun depending on like the champions you pull too. Let's say you want to play a game where you have a very strong defense, but you're just you're not pulling these champions. You're not pulling these mystic champions that everyone else is using on defense. There should still be plenty of other champions out there that are good for defense, and there definitely are some, right? I'm not saying that it's only mystic champions that are good. I'm just saying that it overshadows these other champions a bit too much, in my opinion. Now, some of you guys might have disagreed with anything that I said here, and you're welcome to leave a comment. But just keep in mind, guys, I don't actually work for Kabam, so anything that I'm saying here, it's just my opinion. I'm not like starting a petition to get this change to happen or anything like that, right? It's just my opinion that I'm throwing out there. That's it. So yeah, just because I think this way doesn't mean these changes are going to happen, but I really do think that they would be for the good of the game, and I think that they would make the game more fun, more interesting. And whether change happens or not, I will be switching to a Mystic Dispersion build very soon here, probably in the next day or two. What's that saying? If you can't beat him, join him? Well, I'm about to join him, I guess. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.